Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to mention the title of your workshop for this gathering, which is A Sense of Belonging, a Core Condition for Societal Transformation. And I would like to open this field so our community knows what they will be weaving with you in the process of their own personal experience with organizations, with uh, any means of work and society contribution. Okay, so I would like to ask you, how does belonging manifest as a core condition for societal transformation in your perspective?
Hmm. Thank you, Alexandra. For me, the times we live in are such a liminal space that we find ourselves, where a lot of us, in many different ways, are uprooted either from the place of origin, through working online, through working across different sectors, and a lot of being part of different networks, movements, maybe even family, sometimes doubting how are we related to our blood family and our ancestry. And in that huge shift that we are undergoing with this polycrisis, that we are finding ourselves in our work, we see often that question, where is my tribe? Where is my center? Where is my roots that can land somewhere again in a new way? Maybe the old ways no longer serve or are no longer possible also. But that doesn't mean that we do not have a right, as Bert Hellinger also puts it very clearly, to belong in a new way. So part of the work that especially we are focusing as collective transitions on around this whole field of societal transformation is very focusing also on how to, in a way, co-create conditions that a new and healthy way of belonging as individuals, but also as groups and organizations, can slowly land, creating a more almost stabilizing energy while we are going through such huge shifts and movements of huge uncertainty, disruptive crises, etc. I'm not sure if Nancy, you also have something to add here or to build upon.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I have an inquiry around how the relationship between different types of constellations and different, whether it's a family constellation or an organizational constellation, and how belonging can thread between, the individual, interpersonal family systems, as well as organizational, community, and also social change. So in our work, what we've seen kind of from a more practical standpoint is this relationship between kind of the inner shifts of belonging. So maybe you have someone that was born, in with parents from two different countries, relates to not being fully white or not being a certain way, but always trying to find a way to balance, his voice and power and belonging in the system and fighting for those who also have the same struggle. So in that instance, for example, belonging, what he's doing out in the world, in a sense, showed up as kind of a capacity that he could strengthen in himself, to then actually be able to promote and embody those shifts out in the world. So there's an interplay that I'm tracking and noticing between these interpersonal, organizational and community and social impact dynamics, and how they come up and how they shape us, and how belonging can actually help us expand and widen, the capacities and how we're able to do the work and impact we want to see.
Yes, how nice. Okay. And I would like to ask you also, what do you want to share through this workshop with those who assist to it?
Hmm. So I think with the workshop, we want to, first of all, just have an experience together. So we will share soon a little call for a case giver. We will share a bit about the criteria that would be important for that. And so that in this 2-hour workshop, we actually go through experiencing how belonging shows up, first of all, or maybe also the topic of not belonging, and how by giving space through a systemic constellation, we can actually help through maybe little shifts that something in a new way can land for this issue that the case giver is bringing, and how that may also, and of course that is something that we will see only afterwards, how that may also affect then the outer work that this work is dedicated to. So it's basically an experiential space to explore together and being in this inquiry together.
Okay. Nancy, would you like to add something to this?
I think it's an opportunity for, I mean, definitely to meet one another and to practice together. And also, I think, depending on where people are coming from and what their background is, to really kind of explore the different ways of knowing and widen the sensing capacity. Our hope from it also is that the topic will resonate in a way that can be supportive, for people who show up. So the theme may be specific to a specific organization or context, but hopefully, and that we're all sort of in this inquiry around belonging, that we can all take away something in that experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I would like to ask you another question, which goes very much in this process. What is the process to see the invisible, and how do you bring it to be valuable?
It's funny, I think I was going to start with this question, but the word process sort of stands out, where I might have Luea lead around, and I can, around the process that we use that relates to the system sensing. And then I can add how we relate that after that.
What comes up with this question, it's actually the process is by acknowledging relationships that are there no matter to another being, or another person in my lineage, to my neighbor, to the land I'm inhabiting, to an emotion, to maybe even the future generations to come, to maybe even what is hanging behind you, these kind of more angelic, subtle energies that we can call upon, that we give, of course, images like the one hangs behind you, but are in a way universal energies that have, of course, different names in different cultures, but are symbolizing and are also available resources to all of us at all times. So in a way, when you ask the question about the process, for me, in a way, to see the invisible is just even to reach out with an invitation or a question or a curiosity, what for me is strongly related to the practice of systemic constellation, of stepping into a representational role and being surprised what a certain element actually wants to share with us in this very moment, and through that just valuing it by making it visible through an expression of a person, for example, or through us in a tabletop tuning into the different objects we may have. So that's the relational aspect of we are interrelated beings and interdependent beings. That comes up when you ask this question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this inquiry around making the invisible valuable has been a theme, definitely very present in the chapter before this work we're doing now, around supply chains and farmers, for example. So how do you value basically the work and the care that they're putting into the land, in a way that they're, say, for example, they're servicing their ecosystems, they're putting care into a quality of a product, they're putting care into the communities, if providing more opportunity for education around how finance and decision making is going to be made. All those things take effort and time, and if we're constantly just only paying for less than living wage, a lot of these farmers we worked with, according to studies, are making 60 to 70% of what Ankler Living Institute would consider just a basic living wage. Then how are we going to do all these, how are we going to meet all our SDG values and goals? So kind of in a macro practical, but invisible, what are these patterns that are reinforcing the fact that we actually can't meet these goals, and we actually can't literally value and pay for products. Where does that start? Does it start with the consumers? Does it start with the traders? Does it start with the system? What are the dynamics that are keeping these things in place? It's a big question, but it's one that at least I've been chipping away at, and noticing these little shifts can actually start to trickle down and have quite big impacts, that have real manifested potential and value. So constellation work has been an applied tool to actually get to the bottom layers of the iceberg, to really understand what little tiny behavioral changes or even awareness can create shifts down the line that turn into practical real value.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so the next question I would like to ask you both is, what is the purpose of collective transitions?
I mean, I think collective transitions is a being that has that we are still discovering. So it has its own very, very funny ways of speaking to us and through us. So it's probably a lot more than we can capture at the moment. But I think one purpose is of actually acknowledging that we are individuals within collective bodies, and that in order to kind of go through these amazing, potent, but also highly challenging times we are living these days, we are in a way nudged, challenged, tickled, and invited to activate more collective capacities also as teams, organizations, groups, communities, networks, especially around not only our mental capacity, but also our sensing capacities as collectives. And I think one of the purpose of collective transition is just even to stay in that inquiry and be curious together in creating spaces where we can learn and practice and explore how can we actually more move again as healthy bodies together, knowing that the times we live in need a whole other set of social architecture, but also social technologies of how we are interrelating with each other, and of course the natural world and the subtle world, etc.
Yes, that sounds beautiful. Beautiful.
Well,
Nancy?
it's a funny being.
Yes.
Yeah, but related to the beingness, I feel like it's sort of like a wiring system or something that's already there, but we're just starting to chip away at what's present. So it's helping us become almost reconnected in that way, that there's a purpose of, it's funny, I didn't even know I was going to say that, but that, you know, what is the process of us feeling more reconnected to the inner web of life and our place, you know, where we live and where we do work and the people around us. The kind of small chip of inquiry that we're at this year is around perception and how to widen our ways of knowing, as what is informing, you know, systemic constellations. And so in that process, I think something we've noticed, we've both been through our own kind of transformations and didn't expect that. We're like, oh, we're planning this research journey for the next year, and all of a sudden we're undergoing kind of our own inner research and inner experience around what it takes to kind of break down to break through, you know, whether that's like a cleansing of a synapse and then you know, an activation and restoring, and then sort of a part of us that, or a way of knowing that wasn't quite online before, to actually be kind of fully online. So that rewiring process. Just for an example, in mine, what I noticed is the same barriers that I had sort of blocking my own, at least for that part, process, was a pattern that I had seen working with organizations, you know. So it's funny to be like, kind of, I think, yeah, through that sort of having an empathy and also humbleness for all the different ways these blocks and challenges manifest, and even they may be hidden or unconscious inside of us, even kind of repeating the same thing. So yeah, I think we're on a journey of reconnecting and rewiring and holding, and with the process of widening, you know, how we see and sense, and excited to explore that with the community and to be present at the conference to see what else, who else wants to collaborate and join along.
Thank you, Nancy. Well, I think this is so complete. It's really co-creating in a conscious way, in an organic way. And I'm so glad we are having your workshop with you both. And this is an open invitation to all the community, and we're only a month away from our gathering. So I think we can wrap it up here and leave it for the day. So thank you so much for your input, for what you're doing for all the community. And we're looking forward to see each other again soon. So thank you. And would you like to add something else? Would you like to?
Just thank you for this opportunity and for all the work that you're doing, that we can even join together online. Unfortunately, not in your beautiful place that you're living, but yeah, just thank you
Yes.
for all the work.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's a gift for me and for all. So, okay, so I will say goodbye and see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.